Hey everybody, good Tuesday morning. It's meteorologist Brad Panovich. Quite an interesting day here in the Carolinas. We're getting a summer wedge, which is a northeast wind and a backdoor cold front, which is actually giving us cooler temperatures, not so much because of cooler air, mainly because of the low clouds, drizzle, and mist out there, which is going to keep temperatures in check most of the day. Let me show you what it looks like on the radar, satellite, and temperatures together. You can see the low cloud deck. Basically what happened overnight is that stalled front drifted somewhere to about right here, and we're getting northeast winds, which is ramping up against the mountains, but still some warm, humid air trying to ride up and over it is producing this low and mid-level cloud deck. So as I zoom in here, you can see temperatures are generally in the 70s. There's a lot of drizzle and mist not showing up on the radar, and that's pretty typical. Remember, there's some limitations to the radar. The radar is really far away from you. It's shooting over the top of the low-level drizzle, and also a lot of radar apps are just horrible radar data. You're not getting really good data. Again, this is like looking at the radar data that you would see on your app. You're not seeing a lot showing up, but if I turn on the weather, I can see that there is drizzle being reported at Lincolnton, as well as Charlotte, and there's likely pockets of drizzle in a lot of locations across the area. So there is drizzle out there, but even though temperatures are in the 70s, it's still really muggy out there. Dew points are in the 70s as well. It's just we don't have that blazing hot sun, which is keeping temperatures, much cooler than the 96 that we saw yesterday. Now, got to talk a little bit about what's going on to our south. That little low is emerging over the Gulf of Mexico today, and I'm going to go to a different map, and I'll show you this area we're watching. So this is called Investigation Area 96L. You're going to see all kinds of stuff on the internet about this system. I'm going to try to lay it out there just to tell you exactly what I think is going to happen. And for folks on the Gulf Coast, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. So just for reference, here is our area of low pressure. Right there, it's over the basically the Big Bend area of Florida. It's beginning to emerge over the Gulf of Mexico. Now, I'm going to put on all of the forecast models here. I'm actually going to turn off the 5-day. And you can see the general trend in the models here, all kind of going off to the south and the east. I'm actually going to pull up my other model map here just to give you a little better view of this so you can see it. So this will give you a real good view. This is the morning model runs. You can see the low here, all the guidance generally off to the southwest, but there's a huge spread in the guidance here. A couple things to keep in mind. If this hugs the coast more, you're probably looking at more of a heavy rain event, maybe a low-end tropical depression. But if it hangs out over the water more, this has the potential, especially if it tracks out here. This is much warmer water. It's away from the coast. It can get stronger and then eventually maybe influence parts of southeast Texas or southwest Louisiana. So folks over there, right in here, you need to pay very close attention to this setup because the potential is it could meander and drift that way and be much stronger than we're anticipating right now. Just to show you the steering currents, here's our trough over the middle of the country. We've got the backdoor front, which is moving in here. That's essentially a high pressure system. So if you think about clockwise flow, right down here where this system's going to fester, ideal environmental conditions for this to become a tropical system. The real key part is how far south can it get? Can it get over these very warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico? If that's the case, that would make this a much stronger storm system and something to keep an eye on, especially as we go towards the end of the week. So let's show you a couple of possibilities with this system as it moves along the Gulf Coast. First thing I'm going to show you is the intensity forecast. And again, the intensity forecast isn't off the charts right now. This is most of the tropical models showing high-end, maybe tropical storm force winds, maybe 50, 60, 70 miles per hour, but some of the global models, especially European models, a little bit stronger, and that's all because of the track. Now, let me show you what I think is going to happen here. This is looking at the American model. It's showing a much closer system to the coast, and I'll go through time. You can see going through today. Shows a broad circulation here over the northeast Gulf of Mexico, but certainly hugging the coast more over time. And I'll show you what I'm basically plotting here are surface pressures and wind. So you can see the wind, very lopsided system on the right side, which means it's a weak system, probably a little bit of a hybrid type system. Moving to the west, this is basically going through Thursday. It shows some low here over southern Louisiana. And just to give you an idea, it looks like a general circulation here with all the wind on the right side. But notice how close it is to the coast. This is a big coastal hugger, I like to call it. It's going to be hugging the coast and then moves inland right there in southwest Louisiana, southeast Texas, sometime going into Friday, Saturday, Sunday, a little quicker than some of the other guidance. And the reason that's one scenario to keep an eye on is, that's a faster system moving along the coast. But let's say the system stays further offshore. If it's further offshore, it's going to be slower, gives it more time to strengthen, and then comes up this way. That's a bigger storm. But if it moves more in this direction, it's a weaker system. But still, in any scenario out there, you're looking at some huge rainfall amounts across the Gulf Coast. And I'm going to show you what that looks like here. I'm actually going to pull up some of the rainfall forecasts here just to show you how much rain we actually could see with this system. So real quickly, here's a look at the 5-day rainfall forecast. So you can see this is from the Weather Prediction Center, and they're kind of hinting at a little bit maybe further offshore track here and then heading into Louisiana. This area right in here definitely needs to watch this for a flash flood threat. When you're looking at some of these totals in here, right in this area here, you're talking about totals 7 to 10 inches in kind of this mustardy yellow color. And that would be into areas around southern Louisiana into the Houston area. So big time flood threat for these areas along the Gulf Coast. It's still pretty far out there. The system hasn't even fully emerged over the Gulf of Mexico yet. And we'll watch as these new data comes in. But there it is over land right now. Once it gets out here, the one you got to watch for on the Gulf Coast, further offshore is not necessarily a good thing. That means it's over water longer, more of the storm is over water, it gets a chance to gain strength. If it hugs the coast, it's a flash flood threat, but less of a wind and big hurricane, even strong tropical storm type system. So we're in the middle of hurricane season. Hopefully you have your hurricane preps ready to go. Of course, I'll be tracking it throughout the week. I will do updates for all of my friends on the Gulf Coast and people that are concerned about this system down there. I think flooding is going to be your biggest concern. So be prepared along the Gulf Coast now, especially for freshwater flooding. It's our #1 killer in these storms and something people take for granted.